I've never seen a president try to create more problems for a future president. After 18 months of this hacking, he does something about it. Why didn't he do something about it 18 months ago? It wouldn't have happened.
Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani weighing in this morning after the Obama administration announced a new round of sanctions against Russia for allegedly interfering in the U.S. presidential election. Also new this morning, Russian President Vladimir Putin now saying his country will not expel any American diplomats from Russia in response to those sanctions. But he did add Russia has the right to retaliate. Joining me now, MSNBC contributor and former DNC chairman and Vermont Governor Howard Dean, and Republican strategist Danny Vargas. Good to see both of you. So we also heard today from Kellyanne Conway, who said basically that President Obama is trying to box in the incoming president. Howard Dean, does she have a point?
I don't think so. Look, she is, I'm sure, a very nice person. She knows nothing about foreign affairs and certainly nothing about the Russians. For her to say that there's no Russian military intelligence assets in the United States, I mean, it's not worth taking anything she says seriously about this subject.
Well, MSNBC's friend, your friend and ours, Ed Rendell, the former governor of Pennsylvania, has a kind of a different take on what all this means. He actually says that the president did Donald Trump a favor. Take a listen.
If he had passed this on to Donald Trump, all the information, and said, you make the decision, then Trump's first decision vis-a-vis Russia would have had to be to impose sanctions. And he would have gotten off on the wrong foot with Putin. Here he can let these sanctions stand, say they were done by President Obama, but President Putin, let's look ahead and let's build a new relationship.
Danny, President-elect Trump does avoid pressure from Republican members of Congress to do this. President Obama did it for him. Did he do him a favor?
You know, good morning, Chris, by the way, and Happy New Year. I would tend to agree with Governor Rendell. I think he has an opportunity stepping in. We know Donald Trump is transactional. He's about deals. He has an opportunity coming in now where there is already a stick on the table in terms of Obama's sanctions. There's a bigger stick potentially on the table with the additional sanctions that hawks in the Congress want to impose, and he's got the carrot of being able to have some sanctions relief. So he's got the potential to go in to say, listen, let's strike a deal where you can get some concessions from Russia, whether it's in Syria or Iran or Ukraine or in energy issues. And he's got a very sophisticated player in Rex Tillerson that can go in and begin to negotiate some of those deals so he can come out as a winner. He's got the good cop, bad cop scenario that he's able to play off of in a very transactional way. So he's got the potential to make that happen. He
issued a statement, President-elect Trump, last night, and it said this: it's time for our country to move on to bigger and better things. Nevertheless, in the interest of our country and its great people, I will meet with the leaders of the intelligence community next week in order to be updated on the facts of the situation. So, Howard, satisfied with that response?
Step in the right direction.
Yeah?
No, I think it's a step in the right direction. I mean, look, our intelligence apparatus is pretty darn good. They really are. And if they're saying that the Russians hacked into the election and all this stuff, I'm sure it's true. Now, this other shoe is yet to drop. President Obama has promised a report before he leaves office, which is going to pretty much give chapter and verse, except for the stuff that has to be kept aside for our own protection, about just exactly what they did. And I think a lot of us are going to wait and see. The other problem that Donald Trump's got is that John McCain and Lindsey Graham, who are probably the two most powerful Republicans in the Senate on foreign policy issues, have a very different point of view than he does about the Russians, and he's going to have to deal with that as well. So I actually think Ed Rendell does have a good point with his analysis of the fact that I think Obama probably did do Trump a favor here, even though I doubt Trump sees it that way.
Well, Danny, he's right. I mean, the political reality on the Hill is he's going to have to deal with a McCain, with a Graham, who could not be on a different page than he is. On the other hand, you do wonder if this is top of mind of the American people, and we know how much this president-elect has really been on the pulse of what voters were thinking. He's really clearly focused on domestic issues. He's been talking about creating jobs. His senior advisors have been saying that's going to be his focus. So is there really any problem for him to sort of stay the course where he's been with Vladimir Putin?
Well, I think domestic issues are key, but I think people are also concerned with terrorism and ISIS and things along those lines. And the President of the United States has to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Now, I would caution the Trump administration coming in that as much as they might want to see another Russian reset, but we've seen that movie before, we know it doesn't end well. So they've got to be able to walk in as realistic as they can possibly be and not be Pollyannish and understand that you can't turn a shark into a goldfish. So Vladimir Putin is exclusively focused on Russian interests and his own personal interest. Well, the best that we can do is focus on those areas where Russian interest and American interest might happen to coincide and focus on those areas. And I think that's going to come down to those places that I mentioned earlier, Syria, Iran, Ukraine, fighting terrorism, fighting ISIS, and potentially energy issues. So if he's able to walk in and be as realistic as he can be and listen to the intelligence professionals and diplomatic professionals within the administration, I think that's the best thing that we can hope for.
But maybe this is a new and improved Vladimir Putin. He did, after all, Howard, invite children of U.S. diplomats to the Kremlin for New Year's.
First of all, I'm totally with Danny. You can't turn a shark into a goldfish. That's a great expression. I'm going to steal that one from you and use it. That's a really good one. And I think that's exactly right. Look, this president of Russia is not to be trusted. And he has done, he occupies 20% of Georgia, which was a sovereign country. His people occupy about 10% of Ukraine, which is a sovereign country. He sent people into parts of the EU, the Baltics. This guy isn't fooling around, and he plays for keeps.
But are you really worried, Howard, that Donald Trump is naively going to trust Vladimir Putin?
No, I don't think he's going to trust Vladimir Putin. My concern is that he's focused elsewhere, and he doesn't understand the connection between what happens to Ukraine, Georgia, and the EU with what happens to the United States. It is connected, and I'm afraid he's in his focus on domestic issues. He's going to want to figure out how to make some kind of a deal with Putin for the benefit of the United States and cast aside our allies. That is a mistake.
Howard Dean, Danny Vargas, my New Year's advice to you, Danny, is to patent that phrase, shark into a goldfish. We like it that much.
Quickly.
And Happy New Year's to you both.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Governor.
Thank you.